Hello. What is good, everybody? Juliana Page here. I want to talk about this thought. What if you just freed yourself? What if you just freed yourself? Now, this is interesting, particularly if you are in a season where you feel like you are in bondage, you feel like you're facing a lot of things that are outside of your control. Maybe you're even in an addiction cycle that you don't know that you can break. You know that it's not something that you should be doing, but you don't know why you can't stop it. You keep choosing it, right? Because the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak, right? So I want to talk about this idea. What if you just freed yourself? Now, I know how challenging this can be. So I was somebody that came from a background of a lot of relationship dysfunction, addiction, all the isms, workaholism, alcoholism, right? A lot of that stuff. And when it came to the time for me to really take ownership of my life, that felt incredibly heavy, entirely overwhelming. And I used to joke before anxiety or, mental health and all of that was a thing, that I was future tripping, that I would constantly be thinking about the future and going on all these trips, worrying about like, if that happens and this is going to happen, and then if that happens and this is going to happen, and what am I going to do? And just like freaking out. And I just wasn't able to have and enjoy my life, as the word says. And I was not walking with God at this point. I didn't know that I could have a relationship with God, that I could hear God by myself, that I could live a spirit-led life. I wasn't exposed to a legacy of faith, so I didn't know these things. However, I will say freedom happened for me when I was finally willing to surrender. So the point that happened for me was a very traumatic and shocking relationship. And it literally brought me to my knees, so to speak. I had no clue what I was up against. I had a strong sense that it was spiritual, but I didn't know what spiritual warfare was. I didn't know anything about the armor of God. I had no clue what I was up against, but I knew it was intense, and I knew I could not do it in my own strength. So the first thing that I knew to do was surrender. I didn't want to attract somebody like that into my life. I didn't want to be in a position where I didn't know what to do if I did. I didn't want to carry myself in such a way that somebody would feel comfortable treating me the way that they did, or not being able to have the right boundaries and deal breakers and, just be able to carry and represent myself well, right? Too many giving people the benefit of the doubt, too many overlooking red flags, too many taking people at their word and not watching actions, things like that. Like, I didn't want to go through that anymore. And it was more than just relational. It was also life. I didn't want to guide and direct my life anymore. I feel like there were so many risks that I was taking. There were so many things that I achieved. There were so many places that I moved to. There were so many seasons where I started over. And it just felt like that was too much. Like, I couldn't keep doing that. There had to be more. And what was that? Like, what is the more? Like, there's got to be more than this. Like, I can't keep pushing. I can't keep fighting. I can't keep showing up only to come up empty. Like, where's the return on investment? Like, this is not having and enjoying my life. This is not fulfillment. Like, this is devastating, and I can't keep this up, right? So my surrender was real. It was deep. And that, I would say, is the first step to freeing yourself, to realize that you're not God and that your life has become unmanageable. Like, if it's up to you, you're not going to steer apart from God well. Right? So that would be, I would say, the first thing. Number two, not that there is a full safe plan. I'm not advocating for that, but I'm giving you examples and things that worked in my case. So that would be number one. There's got to be a surrender, which for somebody that is independent, self-sufficient, making their way in the world, right? Like, doesn't ask for help. Like, that is the hardest thing to do. The hardest thing to do for somebody that is an achiever, that is a doer, that is a make thing happen person, is to slow down, to recognize that it's out of control and that you can't change this, and to surrender. Whew, so hard. Okay. But so freeing. Then is to invite God in to the situation. So surrender to the fact that this is beyond you largely, and then invite God in. Ask for help. Cry out for help. Okay. And then be open to the forms that help comes in. So, for example, for me, I was open to serving in a recovery ministry. So that's not how I thought that I was going to develop my relationship with God, grow in the word, become a prayer warrior, intercede for others, become like a weapon against the enemy. I had no clue any of that, right? I just knew, oh, I guess I'm being led to go serve. That's a nice thing to do. That's what I thought I was doing. But I was not prepared for what I was stepping into. And it was walking with people through 12-step Christ-centered recovery programs. And it was crazy, so empowering. But would I have sought that out on my own? No. Would I have ever pictured or imagined myself being there? Absolutely not. But I had surrendered. I had asked for help, and I knew that I couldn't deny that this was the form that God was giving it to me. And doors and doors and doors kept opening to me. So, for example, sorry, I have something in my eye here. So, for example, I was put in a leadership position, and so I also then couldn't bail out. I was surrounded by a new team of leaders. There was just a lot that was happening that was making that clear that God was like, keep going in this direction. The other thing that happened was I was starting to write. So that was the next thing. I was really led to make it a silent season, a season of consecration. So literally intentionally cutting myself off from places and people and things that were not feeding my soul, not helpful for my soul. So no TV. I freaking love music, but no listening to music. It was listening to sermons. And faith comes by hearing and hearing by the word of God. So I had to stop listening to all the other stuff so I could actually start priming myself to the tune of faith, because I didn't know what that was. And not knowing was not an excuse. So I started building a relationship with God. All that time that I would give to being in relationship, I was now giving to God. I was listening to the word. I was writing. And then the other thing that was happening too was I was processing my own pain with God. So that was a really, really huge thing. So surrender, ask God for help, be open to the help that comes, and take the action. Respond with instant obedience, because procrastination is still disobedience, okay? So that would be my encouragement. And as you do that, you get stronger in your spiritual senses. You get stronger in your relationship with God. You get stronger in your alignment. You get stronger in confidence and worth and authority and how you carry yourself and how you steward what you're given. And God will continue to open doors that no man can shut before you. You've just got to seek him first. Keep the main thing. Keep sin out of your life. Walk uprightly. This is by no means a perfect path, but when you can't really seek sin and seek God at the same time. So it's an all-in journey, right? And trusting God with the details, because I say when you get busy about God's business, he handles yours. So that would be some feedback that I have about how you can free yourself. One is that you have to recognize that you can't do it on your own. If you could, you would. And when you tried, you went to addiction, or you went to taking pills and sleeping pills and CBD stuff and like whatever, like you started finding your own crutch, right? So if you didn't have any crutches, right? God is the one that can. God is the one that's all sufficient. He can make that happen for you. But you in your own strength, you can't free yourself. But who the Son sets free is free indeed. So that would be number one, is surrender. 2, ask for help. 3, be open to the form that helps comes in, and then take the actions and keep taking action and keep developing yourself. So the other thing that I would say that's helpful, especially when life is chaotic or circumstances seem like they're shaking, how you can be the stabilizing element or the thing that can't be shaken in the midst of that, is I like to say bookending your day. So having a morning routine. So even if you work and you're like, well, I work and I have kids and I do this and I do that, great. That usually means you have to get up earlier. You make it happen. But so for example, I know that I'm going to start getting a lot of activity happening at 6 a.m. So I got to be up before that to make sure that I've got quiet time. I've got time where it's not going to be interrupted, where I can feed my soul, where I can connect with God, right? And then I can get about the day. And then at the end of the day, I need to bookend my day with something, whether it's prayers of thanksgiving, whether it's gratitude, whether it's worship, whether it's writing, something that is helping me again check in with myself and see, how did today go? What do you need? What do we need to put on the calendar for tomorrow so it's not going to be on your mind as you sleep? Or what do you need to do to relax your body? Do you need to take a bath? Like, what are the things that you need to do to take care of you? So when you know that you have a morning routine, it's something that you can wake up and look forward to, and you could set your mind and keep it set. And then at the end of the day, you can really just refresh and renew yourself so you can sleep well and then start over. And in the middle of the days when you work, right? But you can still have breaks in there too. But I would say do that, because that also helps you reflect. It helps you recenter. It helps you renew. It helps you refresh. It helps you process feedback that you're getting constantly. It helps you plan and write down things that otherwise it just feels like day after day after day. So it really helps focus and build progress and good, healthy momentum in your life. So that's another thing that I would say to do. And then what else? Oh, the example that I have too is, don't think that you can just practice this once a week, just like going to church once a week, and then you're good. Renewing your mind and being transformed by the renewing of your mind is a daily practice, right? When the Israelites were being set free, it was easier to free them than to get them to change their mind. Think about that. That is a biblical example, is telling you how strong the mind is that can either work for you or against you. And a lot of us have programmed our minds and trained our minds to work in ways that are not productive. It's not progressive. It's not moving us in the direction of destiny and purpose. So it requires diligent, intentional force of will to be transformed by the renewing of your mind, to get up early, to seek the Lord, to seek him diligently, right? To abide in the Lord. That means that my mind is prone to wander, and I've got to be the one that's got control over my soul and tells my soul what we're going to do, right? The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. So I need to train my flesh. I need to train my mind. I need to train my emotions. I need to check my heart, right? So that is something that's ongoing. So that's also why I recommend, yes, the process of beginning to free yourself, but living is free indeed, right? Like, it is a choice to wake up and live in the newness of life. God's mercies are new every day, but to wake up and live in the newness of life is something that you choose or not. And I'm sure you can check yourself. You know yourself best if you are actually living in your newness of life. Are you living with a new mindset? Are you living in the new spirit, the new man that God has given you, the free one? Are you living that one? Are you going back to old ways and old patterns and old comfort zones, right? Are you complaining about the same things? Are you ruminating about the same things? Are you talking about the same things? Or are you speaking life? Are you prophesying truth? Are you focusing and keeping your mind fixed on what God says about you? Different. So it's something that you choose, and it requires your will. So I call it spirit-led self-mastery, because it really is about actualizing your potential, but it's your God potential. It's not what you think your potential is. It's not what other people tell you, but it's cooperating and co-laboring with God and using your authority to basically get your soul under control so that God can flow freely through you, and so that you can be open and receptive to what God is doing all the time. Okay, so I hope this message blessed you. I'm going to leave you with that question. What if you just freed yourself? What if? What would be different? What if you did that? Noodle it. Put that to work. See what happens. I dare ya. All right, like I said, I hope this message blessed you. If you know somebody that could be blessed by this message, make sure that you copy the link and share it with them. And if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you doing? Click subscribe so that you can get more of these messages. All right, guys, until next time, stay blessed.